Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Ask, Don't Tell. As many of you know, I bring in some really good guests who show you that whether you're in sales, in life, in coaching, running a business, selling something, maybe you're in a leadership position, what you ask, the kind of questions that you ask really make a difference in how good of a result you get in what you're trying to do. In other words, people don't like to be preached at, sold to, told what to do. They like for you to listen and then really help them out. And so I've got a really good guest today that is going to really help me unpack a lot of the, hey, this is how you can get to yes, this is how you can help other people without being a jerk in life, which is really what this is all about. So Jeff Munn, we've got you on the show today. Welcome.
Thank you, Oscar. I am really excited about this conversation and digging in a little bit with you on all of this stuff.
All right, great. So tell me if I butcher this, because this is just my research that I've done, and I could be really wrong. So here's my little intro to you, but you're going to fix it as we go on the show. So basically,
Sounds
Jeff
good.
is a seasoned executive coach who helps founders and CEOs break out of indecision, lead from confidence, build teams, get out of the weeds. So this show's going to be a lot about leadership. Obviously, I'm usually going to spin it sometimes in making sales decisions or taking action in your life or in the life of others. And he's going to also help us separate good decisions from great ones. And he's got also a podcast called Pick Now. Did I butcher that? Why don't you help me there a little?
No, you're definitely in the right ballpark, Oscar. So I came from, I like the word seasoned. It's a little more gentle than old. But I came from an almost 30-year corporate career. I started out as a law firm lawyer, went through a bunch of different kinds of leadership roles in different kinds of organizations. In 2017, I got laid off from my last corporate gig and had been thinking about doing, I guess what would be called executive coaching, but there's lots of different kinds of coaching and we can get into that. But I really got into it because behind the scenes of my 30-year corporate career was this spiritual personal development curiosity that I found incredibly helpful for me. It got me over panic attacks and a lot of other challenges. And I finally decided I wanted to help other people in the way that I had been able to help myself over the years.
Awesome. So let's kind of unpack that for a little bit, because
Yeah.
we all kind of have a background story of why we are doing the things where I'm doing, like, whether it's selling books or speaking or training or coaching, or you're right, there's different types of coaching. We're going to get that in a second. But what is it, you don't just go from, hey, I was in corporate America to, hey, I'm going to be an executive coach. Like, that was a huge leap there, right? So, okay, there were some things that I was seeing. Yeah. There was some, maybe spiritual, whatever it might be. And then there's a bridge there. And then you wake up one day and say, oh, well, I can help others, right? Because ultimately that's what I can help others not go through some of the things that I went through, which is really kind of what you're telling me here. And because of that, I'm going to make an impact. So I'd like to dig a little bit on what that bridge was. Like, what are those some of those specifics that you say, look, this is what I used to see in the marketplace or in the workplace. And this is specifically what I'm trying to help people do or avoid or achieve. I guess really the question that I'm asking you, Jeff, is what do you do that makes people come to you? Like, what is the help that you're providing? Because just saying strategic coach or an executive coach is one thing. There's all different kinds.
Doesn't really say anything, does it?
What are you? Why are they coming to you for help, and what are you specifically helping people to do?
I mean, it's an excellent question. And to some extent, it depends on the individual in front of me. But I'd say the common theme that shows up for me when I'm working with someone is that they are working with and within an identity that no longer works for them.
Okay.
So you remember that old Marshall Goldsmith book, What Got You Here Won't Take You There?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's kind of like that. There are things that we do, especially at the beginning of a founder journey. I'll give you a few examples. The person who you're the person who has to do everything. You are everything from the Salesforce to the bottle washer to the IT guy. And as you build an organization, at some point that starts getting in the way. Your desire to be the smartest person in the room and control all the decisions leads you to do stupid things. Like hire a finance person to do finance exactly the way you would, even though you're not a finance person. So you begin to surround yourself with yes people. You begin to not trust those people. And you think it's them. And it's actually you. And so at some point, and this is probably the first major entry point that I have in an organization, that person begins to get an inkling that they're the problem. They don't quite understand yet how they're the problem, but they get that something's amiss. And sometimes it's because someone else, an existing client referred to them, or someone who knows both of us referred them. And we begin to look at that, and we begin to really dig into that. And they begin to have ahas about, oh, I should hire a CFO who actually knows about finance and then get out of the way. And that brings up all of these things about, I've got to know everything. I remember a conversation with a founder that I had early on where she was like, I need better time management skills. The company's growing and I need to stay on top of everything. It's like, actually, you need the opposite. You need to build a team you can trust, and you need to get out of the way.
Okay. So let me stop you there for a second, because we're already heading into a very powerful direction that is actually a little bit different than I thought when I first asked you that question. So I don't want to miss that.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
a lot of people, right. So this is a little bit where we need to talk about what a coach does in a way, right? Because when people hear executive coaching or executive coach, I think they have the misconception that and of course you come from the corporate world. So right. I actually had the misconception. And so if I'm thinking of it, other people are going too, right? So they're thinking, okay.
And I freely admit that I don't do what most coaches do, because you're probably going to say things like, executive presence and communication and team building and all these like.
No, I'm not going to say any of that.
You're not going to go. Okay,
no, I'm not
go the direction you want to go.
I'm not going to say that. Yeah. No, I'm telling you. So ask, don't tell. Now I'm going to tell.
Yeah, exactly.
I was asking.
Yeah.
Okay. So
good catch.
So anything, what I was going to say is what the thought was, okay, he's come from corporate America, so he's going to teach executives how to be better at the role of being executive. He's an executive coach. And I got to tell you, I've had executive coaches on this show, and I've met a lot throughout my career. And that's usually kind of the box they put themselves in. They say, well, I'm an executive coach. I go look for the CEO or for someone who's going to pay me some money to coach them to be a better executive. Now, you may still do that, but you actually went on a different kind of like spectrum, because what you really were alluded to was, yes, executive coaching, but you're also alluding to really business coaching, right? Like you're helping that executive, that business leader, become a better business owner by being less owner reliant, becoming more owner independent, and helping them grow and scale their business in a way. Like, I don't know if that's what you're doing, but when you answer that, you're kind of alluding towards that direction. So I'd like for you to tell me, Oscar, you're wrong of kind of what I'm helping people do, or yes, you're right. I do a very broad spectrum, and that's what I answered. It depends on the person, because some people do need maybe executive coaching, and some people need you to kind of help them step away from being that founder leader and get them to see that the problem is they actually need to, kind of like you said, find the right people and kind of scale their business. So why don't we step back a second and you kind of help us kind of pinpoint what specifically it is that you're helping people do. Because I think I did that. I think you're doing all that stuff, right?
I am doing all that stuff, and the way that I describe it is all of that stuff can happen and does happen, but it's actually a side effect of the work we're doing, not
Okay.
the purpose of the work we're doing.
Perfect. That's what I want. All right. So keep going.
So whatever you're going to do in life is a side effect of everything you think about yourself in the world. And most people are unconscious most of the time about the things they think about themselves and the world. So we all have programming and triggers from when we grew up and things that we're insecure about, things that are even hidden from us. You've heard people talk about shadow work or those kind of things. But we also have rules. Like, I remember my dad saying things to me that really influenced how I thought about what I wanted to do in the world. He would say things like, if a job is worth doing, it's worth doing right. And there's a reason they call it work. And I always saw him, even when he was watching a Cubs game, he would have like paperwork on his lap. And these things influenced how I thought about work. And we all have that. And we think everyone has the same rules and perspectives, and they don't.
Okay.
And those things have a huge influence on us.
Okay. So in a way, what I'm kind of hearing you say is, so what I was describing there were like the mechanics, like the mechanics of, building a business, scaling a business, growing a business, being a better business owner. But what you're alluding to is the mechanics are a side product, and I'm just kind of repackaging what I said, but the mechanics are kind of side product of the mentality or the mental part of that business owner. So for them to get better at their mechanics and to actually do all the better things as an entrepreneur, leader, business owner, they got to get themselves right to begin with in their own mind, mentality, past, whoever they think they are. And that's where you are focusing on sometimes at the beginning, or is that a lot of times?
I'm focusing on that the whole time.
Okay, so that's really, so when you look at executive coaching, you're looking at, okay, the person themselves. If I can improve the person themselves and dig deep into them and help them become better, then that flows into everything else. Is that a little bit kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, I would take issue with the word improve, but yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, let me give you an example.
Yeah, I'd love to.
So I've got a client who is struggling with someone on his team, very senior person on this team. This person has more history and more tenure than my client does. And this person becomes disruptive in meetings, kind of crosses his arms and storms out, has this disruptive effect on his team. And it triggers my client because this person is actually showing up a lot like his father did.
Ah, okay.
And so it's very hard for him to say, hey, that's not professional. We need to create an environment in which X, Y, and Z are true. What it is turned into is because this person is so disruptive, his other senior team members are afraid to say things in meetings. So they're not getting things done because of these psychological issues between these two people. And to say, you need to talk more productively, or here are some ideas about how to express yourself more clearly in a meeting, those kinds of things aren't helpful. I'll call those things tactics, right? Those kinds of tactics aren't helpful because until the underlying thing is addressed, my client and this gentleman is dealing with his own set of issues, his own set of triggers, right? They'll never get to the tactics.
You mentioned earlier, and I kind of want to allude to, because there's a lot of people listening to the show that are going to say, well, Jeff's talking about an owner founder. And so that doesn't apply to me because I'm not an owner founder. Or, I am in a company set role and I'm just a piece of puzzle. So what he's saying is, and so I want to be clear, like what you identified earlier, and I wrote it all down because like you weren't describing one person. You're describing what people don't realize, whether you are just like running a sales team, or you're like a top salesperson, or you are your own salesperson because you're in real estate, or whether you're in the process of a funnel working for a company where there's one original founder up at the top or a couple of them, or whether you're working for a small business where there is a founder. What you mentioned earlier is more common than people think, where there's that one founder. Oh. I mean, people don't realize how common that is. There's one founder who's grown the company, who literally many times could be a little bit narcissistic, who in theory, they surround themselves with yes people. The problem's never them.
It's interesting. I don't think like you use the word narcissist, and sometimes that's the case, but most of the time it's not that. It's just like, this is how I've survived to this point. Yeah. And it's really scary to let that go.
Yeah. Well, I use that word.
I think whatever job you have, there is some version of that.
Yes.
Like in sales, it's deep. Because a lot of, sometimes my toughest conversations, the ones where my client actually learns the most about themselves, are right before the client hires me.
Yep.
And I just had a conversation with a new client last week where I could see him running through all the excuses that he had used not to hire me, all the things that he was afraid of. And I just asked him, so what's next? And we sat silently. I want to go back. I have it recorded. I actually want to go back and time it. I would bet it was 3 minutes.
Wow.
Which is a long time to be silent. I saw his eyes doing this and then this. And then he finally said, we need to start working together.
Right. I'm going to go there in a second because you're saying some really good stuff about just Sales 101 that people don't realize about what you were doing there, and how powerful it is what you were doing. So we're going to hit that in a second. But I want to finish this one real quick idea is, that person that you're talking to, whoever was, they again, going back to and let's not use the word narcissistic. Let's just say that the leaders, or many times leaders, as they grow, you're right, they were used to doing everything, and they become a certain identity, and their identity ultimately, they're going to protect that identity, and they're going to distrust ultimately a lot that doesn't go with the identity that they're thinking that they have. So they surround themselves with yes people.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So what they start doing is they start creating, their solution many times is control, just more control, almost like a cult-wise control around yes people that will feed that identity, instead of them saying, look, really, like, I'm kind of the problem. And so you're helping for that man that you're talking, you probably helped him see that. And it's that realization is like, you know what? I do need help.
Yeah.
And so that just brings me to just one final question in this little segment is, help me, like, in the audience. Like, so for example, I could come to you and say, all right, Jeff, and I'm going to challenge you here a little bit. Jeff, okay, so you do executive coaching. I get it. I see why people come to you for help. I see that they need personal help. It's not like, hey, help. It's not like a business coach is, hey, help me to scale my business. Hey, help me to, it's not that. It's, I need help because I'm struggling as a leader, or I may not even know that I'm struggling as a leader, but you see that and can help me. So, so you come to me. So that's why I need help. But I can get that help from different areas. I could read a book. I could, get some sort of coaching. I could go to a Tony, some sort of leadership thing. Like, what is the solution, kind of, Jeff, that makes you stand out? Yeah, I told you I'm going to challenge you here. Because on a sales perspective, if somebody comes to you and says, Jeff, I get it that you can help me, but what is the solution that you're specifically bringing to the table that makes you different from everyone else? Now, I've heard this is different. This is different from anything I've heard, by the way, that you're focusing on the person and not the mechanics. That's kind of what I grabbed. But I want to make sure that our audience understands this coming from Jeff. If Jeff was like kind of offering this to someone, what is that solution that you're bringing that makes you different than other executive coaches?
Typically, by the time someone's gotten to me, they've done all the training and read all the books.
Okay, got it. Love it. Love it.
Yeah. And they're still having a problem, and they understand that it's not about content. It's not about, I can read some new book, or I can listen to some seminar, or I can go to, you were about to say Tony Robbins. We'll say go to Tony Robbins, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
One of the first books I read in this area was the Tony Robbins book. Tony Robbins has a lot of great ideas, and I will tell you, because my ex-wife used to go to a lot of Tony Robbins things, and it may be different now, but he was wonderful at creating an environment and a physiology in people where they literally believed they could do anything.
Right.
They would walk on coals, they would do all this stuff, and for a week, and I saw my ex-wife go through this several times, for a week, like, oh my gosh, I've seen the light, it's amazing, it's wonderful. She would come back, and 2 weeks later, she was back exactly the same as she was before.
Right.
And so what we do is, the first thing that I do with people is I get them out of their environment for 2 full days. And we do as little as possible. We unplug all of that wiring, all of those habits, all of those automatic things like, oh, an email came, I've got to respond to it. Or, oh, this person is yelling at this person, I've got to handle it. And we look at what shows up in that silence. And then, knowing that, and it's a little bit different for everybody, there are always 1 or 2 or 3 key insights that show up, like, oh, why am I afraid of that? That's not a big deal. Or, oh, I'm really too hard on myself. Whatever it happens to be. And then we go back, and week after week after week, we put them in situations that challenge that. So they really, over the course of the next year, and sometimes I work with people for more than a year, they internalize those things that they see. So they go from being insight to actually incorporated into what's actually a new identity, and they can take that forward. And I'm sure there are other people that do this kind of work. I don't know many of them.
Right. No, you pinned it because, again, do you see what I'm getting at, right? So, okay, Jeff is an executive coach. So, in Closing Intelligence and Ask, Don't Tell, I teach you, to answer 4 questions. Why someone would need your help, why your solution, why you. Well, I mean, we've talked about why you. We've talked about why they need it. But there's a lot of there's a lot of solutions to solve the same problem. And sometimes people don't realize that in the executive coaching or business coaching world, it's like, yeah, but if you're a do-it-yourself guy, which is a lot of founders are, They're going to go
Yeah,
to the
totally.
books first. They're going to go to the seminars first. They're going to try to fix themselves. So what you're saying is, my solution is I help you and a little bit. I know you do many, many things, but I've heard you say the word
Mhm.
identity. Again, this is all ask,
Yeah.
don't tell. I'm asking and I'm
Mhm.
listening. I've heard you say the word identity more times than anything else you've said on the show. So that lets me
Yeah, I
know.
think it's the best word for
Yeah.
what I do.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
help people either find their identity, find a new identity, or have clarity on what their identity is, or or improve their identity, whatever that may be, so that they
yeah,
become a better leader and solve some of the issues that the DIY books, podcasts, whatever it may be, does not solve it. And so they come to you and
right.
say, okay, a real human being, not an AI chatbot, like a real human being can take me through a process to
Yeah,
solve this. And that's what I
yeah.
got from you. Was I wrong?
No, I think that's pretty much spot on.
All
Yeah,
right. Okay.
yeah.
All right. So in order to do that, here's my thinking, because I heard you say it earlier. Oh, well, I sat down with this man and, I asked him a bunch of questions, and and then you said it again. We take 2 days, and we just kind of unpackage. So there's no way that you can unpackage what you can unpackage without being an absolute pro at asking questions. And so what
Mhm.
you and I do is very similar. I teach people to get to yes in life and business, and get better at getting what they want by learning how to get others to say yes. But all that starts with stop talking, start listening, start asking questions. And there is no way that you can be successful at what you do, because you have to unpackage what's in there. You have to unpackage what's in the heart of these leaders. You have to unpackage their fears. You have to unpackage their worst nightmares. You have to get past what they say to the public,
Right.
which is their mask, and unpackage
Yeah.
what's in here. So in order to do that, you 100% have to be a pro at asking questions. So let me ask you this. How did you become a pro at asking questions? What from your background or from your training, or is this something just God given that you,
No,
because I see that you're slow at speaking, so you're very good at listening. And so, but there had to have been some way that you had this gift of asking questions. That's my question.
I think it really does start with listening.
Mm-hmm.
I think if there's a secret sauce to my capacity to listen,
Mm-hmm.
it's that when I was a young, soon to be law firm lawyer, I was, a stressed out overachiever who was having panic attacks and self medicating and doing all kinds of things. And I figured out meditation helped.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been meditating for, I think this summer, it will be the 30th anniversary of my first meditation session.
Okay.
And I think what that gives me is that when you and I are talking, what I used to do was wait to respond.
Mm-hmm.
What I do now is actually I don't have a running what about this? What about this? What about this in my head most of the time, not all the time. I will wait until a question pops up. Sometimes that question is uncomfortable for me to even ask you, but what I have learned over time is that's where all the good stuff is. So for me, it's the listening first and listening at a deep enough level that I can, in the course of a conversation or two, get deep enough to ask those questions, first of all, but also create a space with you that you feel safe enough to tell me the actual answer.
Right. Do you have so for example, when it comes to like the process that I use to ask questions, I kind of created, I mean, it's not that I create, I mean, based on my experience in my life
Yeah,
and just
sure.
what I know that works, and in the marketplace and being in sales for 30 years, like I've created my own structure that's teachable,
Hmm.
ownable, that you can
Hmm.
teach that, hey, this is how you ask questions. That's the only way you can ask questions. But if you want to,
Yeah.
you know, quickly, deeply do some very deep discovery and get to the heart where the good stuff is, this is a way, this is an ABC way to do it, right? This is a structure that
Hmm.
you can do it. Do you follow some sort of structure when you're going through your question asking, or is it more just natural? This is just kind of where the conversation goes, but there really isn't a structure that you're following.
I'd say there isn't necessarily a structure.
Mm-hmm.
I could probably create one if
Okay.
I wanted to.
Okay.
But there is a direction.
Okay.
And so the direction that we're headed toward is it's a combination of two things. What do you want and what's getting in the way?
Okay.
And I can't just start with that question because you will give me a very superficial answer. Or you'll
Right.
give me the answer that it looks like to you right now. And almost all of the time, that's not actually what's going on. So my job is to continue to dig deeper into that, deeper into that, deeper into that.
Right. So, I mean, in theory, like, so again, the mechanics that I use, that I teach in like closing intelligence, it's created to find out the level, the questioning is created
Right.
to find out, what really are you looking for? Like, what's the solution that you really actually need in your heart? Not what you tell me, what's that you actually need. And
Right.
how do I, if I have the ability to be your solution, how can I help you actually make that happen? Now, unless I ask you questions and I actually dig deep and find out what the solution is, anything I tell you is irrelevant. So I could tell you that I sell 22 potato chips, but if I don't know that you don't like potato chip, like you have to uncover.
Yeah.
So there's a structure that I know that I've taught. What I'm hearing from you is you following some sort of structure because trying to uncover these two things. It isn't that you've written it down or that you're teaching in a specific way or that you put it in a book, but you are following kind of your own recipe to get there, and you
Yeah.
found it effective.
And I want to add a third thing, Oscar, just to so what do you want? And like what do you really want?
Yeah.
What's getting in the way? What do you think is getting in the way? Because oftentimes we can't see what's actually getting in the way, but it can help me identify what's actually in the way for you. And then what are you afraid of?
But see, those.
You think of a more traditional sale, and a lot of times, you and I could talk about objections and all that, right? A lot of times, the thing getting in the way of the sale isn't that they don't believe in your product. It's they're afraid of something
Yeah.
like implementation or what will it mean to me and my job if this fails or something along those lines, right? And it's really the fears where all the juice is.
So I want you to stop there. So if you're listening to the show, like I need you to identify here that, okay, so this is huge. Like Jeff does not come out and say he's a salesperson. All right. Jeff does not come out and say he even knows how to do sales. Jeff just has a conversation with people. And because of that conversation, Jeff is effective and he's successful in what he's done and whatever. Point being is there's a lot of people that listen to the word sales and say, oh, well, I'm not a salesperson. Well, you know what? Neither is Jeff, but I got to tell you something. He's a rock star salesperson. He's a rock star salesperson. And this is why I bring people that are not in sales in this show, because want you to understand that in everything you do in life, the better you get at sales, the more successful you're going to be, even if you're not selling, because in some way you are selling. See, Jeff has to sell the idea that he can help that person, but then he needs to uncover what that person really needs and then sell him or give him that solution. What he's describing as the three things that he's finding are no different than what I would be teaching. So for example, but he's just calling it something different. And I'm not trying to give comparisons. What I'm trying to tell you is, if you're listening, is in one way or the other, listen to this man, because he's showing you how to sell without selling. And he's using the principles of sales without being salesy. So when he says, like I call it at the end, I'm trying to find the why now. The why now. Why, what is it that you need to take action today? Why now, right? So you have to get the other end to understand the why now. But the why now, Jeff is 100% right. What always keeps people from taking an action step now, whether it's a sale or something they do in their life, is fear. He's doing the same exact thing. He's trying to get them what they really, really want, what the solution that you need, how he can help them get there. Okay, how can I fill that gap? And what's that fear that's keeping him from doing it? So he's just trying to get people, get past that fear and go now. So I just think it's fascinating that people that are successful in what they do ultimately is because they understand the principle that it's not about Jeff talking. It's about Jeff asking and then getting the other person to take some sort of action, which is what this is all about. So, Jeff, back to you is, where did you, so I guess what I'm saying is, going back a little bit to
Yeah.
so when the person said, oh, this example that you said, well, I don't know I can't remember what they said, but look at all the things that you're saying that are just so 101 sales that you're just a rock star. Here, you don't have an agenda. You're not the one talking. You're not the one pitching. You're not the one preaching. You're not the one giving content. Actually, they've already gotten all that. You're asking questions, and that the things that they don't say are the ones that are going to bring the most value. In other words, the things that you unpackage in your questioning are those things that they're going to give, that are going to be the gold, that are going to be like, oh my gosh, had I not asked that question, I wouldn't know. So the things that you're afraid to say in the first 5 minutes, but you later say are the ones that bring most value. Then you have objections. You said, hey, this is how you get past the fear. There was complete silence, which is a sales skill that most people would never do. There was silence for 3 minutes, which is a sales skill that most people would never do. And then you got the yes. So here's my question. Where did you learn all that? Because you didn't just pick that up from, so either this is just destined from your meditation or something in your corporate background, or maybe you were a previous FBI agent. I don't know. But Jeff, you are a rock star. No, literally, you just unpackaged an entire book of Sales 101 in this little conversation. And you might not even know you're doing that, but you had to learn it somewhere, or you had to pick it up with experience.
At this point, it has become very conscious for me.
Okay.
It wasn't always that way.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been on my own as a coach, so I've been self-employed for 10 years.
Okay.
And there have been hundreds of these conversations. And I've been pretty good, not always great, about noticing what works and what doesn't.
Okay.
And so it's just experimentation. And I will add one thing, a favorite question of mine, it kind of gets to your why now? What's the cost of continuing to do what you're doing? Right. Because it's like, well, I've been doing books and seminars, and I've been doing courses and blah blah blah, and it's like I'm still exactly where I was.
Yeah. And I don't want to degrade anything with what I'm saying here, but like, people don't realize, like, oh, I'm going to become a pickleball coach. No, you're going to you're going to start selling pickleball lessons, is what you're like. You become a salesperson. You're never going to have a lesson unless you can sell. It's a sales job. Oh, well, I'm going to become a business coach. So what you're saying is you're going to have a sales job, because ultimately you're not going to have business clients if you're not able to sell them the idea of becoming business. Oh, well, I'm going to be a speaker. Oh, so you're going to sell speaking. Like, in everything you do, if you're not able to do what you've done, and over time you've learned, how do you get people to say yes to you? Because once you get them to say yes to you, listen to what I'm saying here. Once you get them to say yes to you, you can actually impact their lives. See, you can't impact their lives unless people say yes to you. So what you're saying is so valuable to people that are listening, saying, well, I'm not in sales. No, yes, actually, you probably are somehow. All right.
100%. Well, every solopreneur is half their job or more.
Yes,
is sales.
Is sales.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's why I love bringing people on here that aren't in sales, but then you talk to them, you're like, this guy's a rock star. You are listening to a rock star, folks. All right. 2 things before I let you go. 1, tell me about your app. No, you have is it an app? You have an app called it's a Pick Now tool, but is that an app or is that a tool?
It's a tool.
Tell us
it's just a little
about it.
one pager. So what I find, and I got some great advice from somebody who said, what's the thing that most gets in the way of people hiring you? And it's busyness. It's, hey, this quarter is a mess, but next quarter it'll be better. Or, hey, I need to see how some things shake out. Or it's this idea that I don't have time to do this work with you. I recognize, yeah, that would be great to be able to go deep, right? But I'm running a business. I don't possibly have time. So I created a tool that is simple, but not necessarily easy, to help people make decisions and to make them quickly and to get in motion, because we all think that we can figure it out in advance and avoid mistakes, and we can't. You just have to pick a direction and take action and see what happens and adjust. And this tool helps you do that. And so we'll put a link in the show notes or whatever where people can, get on my email list and also get access to this great tool.
Awesome. Awesome. And you also have a podcast, right?
I do, called the Pick Now Podcast.
And the Pick Now Podcast, is there a specific, because here there's no agenda, it's about sales. Yeah. But I mean, here's a conversation, but that's what we call Ask, Don't Tell. And I just bring people in, I ask them a bunch of questions, I uncover what's in there, and then I see if they're a superstar. You are. Tell me a little bit about the podcast.
The podcast, most of my guests have been entrepreneurs, founders. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes they've had an exit. Sometimes I will have people on who are a combination of a founder or a solopreneur, and they happen to do something that I think would be really helpful for my audience. For example, you might be one of those people, Oscar, and we could talk about that. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of founder origin stories. And we really focus on those moments where they made hard decisions having no idea how they would work out. Right. And so what I'm trying to do is normalize this idea that you can't figure it out in advance, and it's hard and it's scary, and that's just part of the gig.
Yep, absolutely. That is, I'm sure you get some great stories on that show.
Absolutely.
It's a great story.
Yeah, and we've had everyone from like a solopreneur who's like a spiritual teacher to people with billion-dollar exits.
Okay, cool. All right, so I'm going to let you go in a second, but before I let you go, you're going to simply say, I'm going to get my soapbox for about 30 seconds, and then you're going to say, how to connect with you and how we can reach out to you and things like that. But I think I think the big idea we've learned today, and Jeff, we could have gone, if we had more time, and we can keep going, but honestly, I'd rather just have you on the show again another time and us reconnect. But I think that if I went to objections, I think you've seen it all. Like if you've been selling business coaching or executive coaching for 10 years, you are probably a rock star at objections. But we would probably spend another 30 minutes just talking about objections.
Oh, I love objections.
Yeah. So actually, no, just tell me real quick. So so tell me so I have a very quick skill that I teach in closing intelligence that you can use to overcome just about any objection. And then, but it's not like a tactic. It's like grab the objection, put it aside, reframe with another suggestion, with another avenue. And then the other person's like, well, yeah, maybe we should try that. And then this kind of goes away. So I have a little skill that I do. Do you have a certain framework or skill or thing that you've learned or thing that works when people tell you, Jeff, this is great. I'd love to work with you, but let me talk to my wife. I don't have the money. I don't know. It's not the right timing. I'm too busy. Maybe next year. You've seen them all. Jeff, you have seen them all. Tell me, how do you love to handle those things? And just be brief if you can.
Almost always, the biggest objection to working with me is actually the thing that we would work on when we work together. So they are revealing to me what their struggle is. Like if it's, I need to have a conversation with, the other owner, it's about autonomy. Mm-hmm. If it's, I'm just too busy this quarter, it's about, well, how are you showing up? We create busyness, and most of our busyness is just that we're thinking the same things over and over again.
Right.
So it's a roadmap. It's helping me further deepen the vision of how I would work with them, the what's getting in the way part. They've told me what they want, that ideal future that they want. They haven't always been 100% clear on what's getting in the way because a lot of times they don't know. But their objections show me what's getting in the way.
Right. So you're able to address that issue because you know that deep down inside, because you've done proper discovery, ask, don't tell, they've already shared to you what their fear or what their objection is from the beginning or earlier in the earlier conversations. You already know that it's nothing new for you. So what I'm hearing
Yeah.
from you is you're able to address that very fear or objection because that's what it is. It's an excuse. It's not an actual objection. It's an excuse. So by
Right.
addressing it, you kind of put them in a little box where they say, you're right. I'm actually just giving you an excuse because the reason I'm not moving forward is what we already talked about. It's kind of what you're saying.
Well, it's like the 3 minutes of
Yeah.
silence that we were
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
about. I saw him going through all of the excuses that we had talked about,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing that yes, they were excuses,
Right.
and that yes, he needed to do
Yeah.
this. I didn't do anything to convince him.
Right.
He
Yeah.
like got it and said, "Okay, I'm in."
Yeah. This is why I know you're a pro because you would basically be doing kind of what I teach and put a structure on, but using it in your own way. So if in my
Mhm.
world, in a situation like that happened, I would think that it'd look like something like this, and it wouldn't surprise me if it would look like this when you're doing it. It'd be like, Jeff, look, I get what you're saying. I understand, and I'm hearing from you that it's not the right time. However, we talked about earlier that
Yeah.
your time management or your fear of, and I'm just making stuff up, of your fear of
Yeah. Yeah.
of controlling everything around you is what's stopping you. So let me ask you this: besides the fact that right now is not the right time, or you feel is not the right time, is there any other reason that we would move forward for you to achieve the success that you're wanting to achieve, with which you told me that this is what you want? And they're looking
Right.
at you and be like, no, there is no other reason. It's actually just an excuse. So let's move forward. I mean, I could see
Yeah.
you doing something like that, but that's really the same kind of skill that I teach people. But what you're doing is you're grabbing in you're acknowledging their objection. You're basically saying, look, we've already talked about this. And I'm kind of putting that aside and saying, besides that, what's keeping you from getting what you really want? And most people, when you put it that way, they're like, you're right. There is no other reason. I'm actually just giving you an excuse. Or they might say something like, well, Jeff, you're right. It isn't about that. It's really about this. So now what it's really about is this other thing.
Mhm.
And then you might
Mhm.
address,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, you might say, okay, great. So besides that, what else? Oh,
Yeah.
well, then it's not even about that. Honestly, Jeff, I just don't have the money. Like literally,
Yeah.
like you got to get to what, and I could see you being in many of those interactions throughout your years. Am I right or am I wrong?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, which is why you're a pro. Which is why you're a pro. All right. I'm
Well,
gonna
and
let you. Yeah.
sometimes they are literally not ready, and you just need to wait.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we could go on and on about the objections, the specific objections, but that'll be for another day. So anyway, I hope you've gotten some great stuff out of this show. We have really touched on some really powerful stuff, not just on leadership, but if you're a founder of any area or a leader in any way, just realizing that it sometimes starts with that identity and just working within yourself is so that by improving yourself, you can become a better leader. But throughout that process, we've discovered this amazing things of the concepts that how we all are in sales somehow, or we're all and somehow in a world where we have to ask really deep, good questions to uncover what the other person's thinking. And that's the only way that we can impact people's lives, which is what it's all about in this world. And ultimately get the things that we want, helping others get the things that they want. And through that, we've uncovered some great skills, just some great skills 101 that throughout the show. So this has been awesome, Jeff. I've really enjoyed being you on the show. If this episode sparked something, just remember I work with sales leaders, exec teams, revenue orgs that want sharper sales training, stronger business development, and fractional leadership that actually moves the needle. If that's you, let's connect. Connect with me after the show. You can go to OscarSubrats.com, closingintelligence.com, find me on social media, buy my book on Amazon. But I'd love to be able to bring this kind of level and skill to your teams. That's me. Jeff, I'm going to let you end the show with how people can connect with you and what you want them to be that next action step.
Yeah, I mean, certainly if you're a founder who's kind of stretched beyond what they currently feel capable of, if you see possibilities and you know that doing more of the same isn't going to be enough for you, reach out to me. Jeff@jmunn.com is my email. I am on LinkedIn. I write a lot about these topics on LinkedIn. You can find me there. If you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel, I put a lot of video content out, some snippets from my podcast. That is at Creating Extraordinary Futures. Welcome any conversation. Be willing to be challenged. That's what I will say. But I look forward to those
All
conversations.
right. Awesome. All right, Jeff, thank you for being on the show, and we'll see you next time on Ask Don't Tell. Keep listening to the show. Thank you. Bye-bye.